Welcome to the Apex Leaders Podcast with me, Clayton Rose. In every episode, we speak to phenomenal leaders that will share wisdom to help us grow and become great leaders. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome, everybody, to the Apex Leaders Podcast. I'm so happy that you joined us this week for our third episode. I am so excited to be sharing what I feel is on my heart to share with leaders, both in ministry and in business. And this week I'm alone. I have no guest. I am the guest. And I hope that what I share today with you is going to be encouragement and help you in your leadership journey. 10 years ago, Cindy and we've been asked to be the youth leaders of our church. And on the 23rd of September, 2024, we celebrated 10 years of being in that position. And in 2016, I journeyed on being an entrepreneur. And for the last couple of years, that has been also a challenging but very rewarding journey as a leader in business as well. And what I share today will not just be book knowledge or what I've heard somewhere, but practical and real lived experience as a leader, both ministry and in business. And so today, I want to encourage you that as a leader, you will have to pay a price. You will have to pay a price. Every leader will have to pay a price, and there is a price for leadership. The cost to lead, Simon Sinek says, true leaders are willing to pay that price. Sacrificing self-interest and putting their cause ahead of themselves. Doesn't matter what it is, anything of value will require you to pay a price for it. Anything that you consider valuable will come with a price. The car you want to drive will have a price. The house you want to live in will have a price. The clothes you want to wear, doesn't matter what the brand, it will have a price. The relationships you desire, it's going to cost you something. But more so, the type of leader you want to be, it's going to cost you something. Even in health and in fitness, the type of body you want, it's going to cost you. It might mean that you have to be in the gym 7 days a week, but whatever you desire, whatever you consider valuable, will have a price to pay for it. And that price is determined by how valuable you think that thing is. And so throughout anything in life, whatever you consider valuable, whatever you desire, will have to have a price to it. And that price has to be paid by you. You cannot ask somebody else, you cannot expect somebody else to pay the price on your behalf, especially as a leader. As a leader, the only person that can pay the price for leading the people that God entrusted to you, whether you're in business or in church, that price has to be paid by the leader. You cannot expect others to pay the price for you. You can't expect others to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning while you sleep till 10 a.m. You have to be the one that leads. You have to be the one that initiates. You have to be the one that sets the example by the type of price that you pay, because you consider those that you lead and that the thing that you're leading, the business or the ministry, you consider it valuable. And so you have to pay the price for it. The greater the value, the greater the price. The greater the value, the more value you ascribe to something, the greater the price will be. This is true for everything in life, Whatever you consider valuable, there will be a price for it. And the greater the value, the greater the price. This is true for leadership as well. True and authentic leaders has to pay the price. If you're a real leader, if you know what's on your life, if you've been called to it, maybe you're new or you're emerging as a leader, I want you to know today that an authentic leader is willing and able to pay the price, even though sometimes it can be hard. The first thing we need to understand as leaders is this thing, that one of the most valuable assets that you can have as a leader is not the type of office you have, the car you drive, the house you live in, or the clothes you wear, or the amount of social media followers. That's not as important as this asset that you are entrusted with. That asset is the people that you have been given to lead. That is one of the most valuable things you can have as a leader. And being in ministry and in business for a couple of years, I've seen some things and experienced some things. And one of the things I've learned was that those that are entrusted to us, often the quality of their lives is determined by the way we lead. The quality of the lives that they live is determined by the way we lead, because the way we lead them influences their decisions and their choices. And so if we're going to be a bad leader, we're going to determine and influence their lives in a way that could be negative for them in the long run. As a good leader, often people's decisions, life decisions, are made by the way you lead and the advice that you give. That's why you cannot just suck advice or just be a lazy leader. You have to be a leader that has applied himself or herself to the responsibility given to lead people. You are not leading chairs, you're not leading tables, you're not leading furniture, you're not leading immobile things without feelings, you're not leading dead things. You're leading people, and their lives are dependent on the way you lead. That's why God entrusts these people to you, so that when you lead them, you can bring out destiny and purpose out of their lives. But this will require you to make some hard decisions. Hard decisions that you'll have to make so that you can make the lives better for others. But also this thing you have to understand, that when you are entrusted with people to lead, we have to handle those that God entrusts in our hands to lead with care and respect. We have to handle them that way. Now, care and respect does not often mean just letting everything fly by and being okay with everything. But we have to respect people. I'm in business, and in the industry I am in, I've seen grown men brought to tears by the way the leader of the company speaks to them. A father, a husband, a brother, a son. Grown man brought to tears because of the way he's being handled and disrespected by the leader, the man who he respects. And so being a leader doesn't necessarily mean we have the right to be rude or be disrespectful to those that we lead. As a matter of fact, it is our responsibility to be respectful. By being respectful, we earn their respect. By treating them, we earn their respect towards us. We cannot expect it just because we have the title. We have to show them what it is. And sometimes it means you have to teach them how to respect you as a leader, but does not necessarily give us permission to be disrespectful. And so here's some thoughts I want to share today on the price of leadership. The price of leadership. Number one, the first price that you're going to have to pay as a leader is pay with the hard things. You're going to have to pay with the hard things. As a leader, your responsibility is more than just leading an organization or ministry, planning programs, planning events, all of those type of things. As a leader, one of the most important things you'll have to do is make hard decisions. Hard decisions not for the sake of being difficult, but you're going to have to make hard decisions in the interest of those that you lead and the organization that you're leading. Hard decisions sometimes comes at a very painful price. It might mean that you might lose some people. You might lose the respect of some people by making hard decisions. But at the end of the day, when all is said and done, that hard decisions will speak for you in the future. And so when we make hard decisions, not everybody's going to agree with it. People will disagree with you sometimes as a leader, and sometimes you'll be alone in that decision-making process. Even if you have a board or a team around you, and you know in your heart that this is the right thing to do for the person or the people that you're leading or the organization, you have to understand that you're going to make hard decisions, and sometimes you're going to be alone. Not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everybody's going to be okay with the decision. Not everybody's going to trust your heart or see but with being a leader, one of the prices that you have to pay is making hard decisions. The other thing that you're going to do that is hard, you'll have to discipline those that you lead. Now, this is a hard thing to do. But when you discipline as a leader, you don't discipline because you want to punish them. You discipline because you want to teach them. The root word for discipline is disciple. And so you want to disciple them into the man or the woman that you know the potential and the purpose in them is calling them to be. But oftentimes as a leader, discipline will be part of your responsibility. And this is a hard thing, because sometimes you have to discipline the people that you love the most. That's what the Bible teaches us, that God disciplines those that he loves. A attribute or a characteristic of love will be discipline. And if you really love somebody, you will not keep from them discipline. And so that's another hard thing that you'll have to do as a leader. There will be times as a leader that you will be hurt by those that you trust and loved and that you've poured into. But another hard thing to do is to keep a smile on your face, keep hugging, keep loving, keep serving those that hurt you the most. It's a hard thing. It's a very hard thing. I've been there. I know what it is. But you know what? It is that type of love. It is that type of serving that regains the trust, regains the bond, regains the relationship again. And even though it's hard, you have to put a smile on your face, wipe your tears away when nobody's looking. You have to keep serving and loving and being there for the person, even though they've hurt and betrayed you. That's the nature of God. And so if you want to be a great leader, we have to follow the example of Jesus. And so that's another hard thing to do. And one of the hardest things you will do as a leader is not manage an organization, not put plans in place or do events or none of that. It won't even be that when people hurt you or betray you. It will not even be the hard decisions you make. It won't be disciplining somebody. One of the hardest things you'll ever do as a leader will be to discipline yourself. It will be to discipline and bring yourself into discipline. That will be one of the hardest things you'll ever do as a leader. And this hard thing will be done daily. You cannot be watching Netflix until 2 o'clock in the morning, sleep until 11 o'clock and expect to be an effective leader. Do you discipline yourself to read not just the word of God, but do you read books that will make you sharp as a leader? Are you disciplined enough to follow through with decisions that you made? Are you disciplined enough to do the hard things now so that you can reap the benefit later? Are you disciplined enough as a leader? Because you cannot expect your people to be disciplined if you lack discipline as a leader. So number one, the price of leadership is going to cost you to do hard things. With leadership comes a cost. Everything in leadership has a cost. Just like everything in life has a price, everything in leadership has a cost. Being a leader is one of the highest honors that you can have in life. It's one of the greatest privileges you have to serve other people and help them to become the best person that they can be. Leadership is not always about fancy titles or bottled water or special seating, or it's not about the glitz and the glam, the lights. Real leadership is tested when there's nobody looking. Real leadership is tested when the hard times come. That's when real leadership is tested, not when everybody's clapping hands for you. But it's one of the greatest privileges and honors to have, but it does come with a cost. Leadership will often require you to make a sacrifice. To be a great leader, it will cost you sacrifice. The Bible teaches us this in, I think it's Mark chapter 10, where Jesus says, if you want to be great, you have to serve. You have to serve. In the corporate world, it says, if you want to be great, you have to climb the ladder, you have to do this, you have to do that, so that you can be the greatest. But Jesus doesn't say climb, he says go down, be humble, serve. And when you begin to serve, you become great. And this is how we as leaders should be. Our mindset, our mentality, our heart should be to serve others, to be a blessing to others, to help others rise up in life when we are there to help them and guide them and push them up. Some people come out of situations where they don't have that fatherly figure or they don't have a role model. But when God entrusts them into your hand as a leader, you have the distinct honor and privilege to help somebody come out of their circumstance, rise above the situation and the circumstances they are born into, and become the best version of themselves and everything God has called them to be because of the way you led them. But if you fail to pay that price as a leader, you're actually failing another person. As a matter of fact, you fail a generation, you fail a family and a bloodline because you do not have the discipline as a leader to pay the price. And leadership comes with a cost. I want you to hear me very good today. It's going to cost you time away from your friends and family and loved ones because you're serving somebody else. Leadership is going to cost you early mornings and late nights. The cost of leadership will mean taking out of your own pocket to make sure that somebody has a plate of food or somebody has something to eat on that day or their needs are met. It's going to cost you to put your own feeling aside for the greater good. You might not always agree, but because of the bigger picture, as a leader, you have to put your own feelings aside. It's gonna cost you to get up even when you're tired. Your body, everything inside of you saying, just stay in bed. Being a leader is going to say, no, I have to pay this price now and get up. As a leader, it's going to cost you preparation and discipline. You justify the people that you lead by the way you prepare. You cannot be a leader, an ill-prepared leader. It's like going to the war without the sword, without your armor, without your tools that you need to win a war. You cannot be a soldier in the army if you're not prepared, if you're not trained, if you're not disciplined. And so, as a leader, it's going to cost you preparation and discipline. And finally, the cost for leadership. It might cost you a physical, emotional, financial, a mental sacrifice to serve another person. This is the hallmark, this is the trademark, the sign of a great leader, is that they are willing to pay the price, even if the cost is an emotional one, a physical, a financial, or a mental one. Because when we sow the seed with our sweat, with our tears, now we reap our harvest. 10 years from now, you look at the person that you led and you paid the price for, and you made the sacrifices for. 10 years from now, you'll be and say, it was all worth it. You'll look back and say, it was hard, but it was all worth it. Finally, as I just come to a close today, I want you to know that the greatest leaders are often the most humble. Some of the greatest leaders are often the most humble. I want to end off with a story that I want to share of my wife's grandfather, the late Pastor Clarence. He was the leader of the Sharon Assemblies out in Cape Town. And they have about 5 or 6 branches. Great ministry, powerful ministry over the years. Pastor Clarence was an old man already, retired as a pastor. But every day he would get on his bike from his home and drive and ride to the church to help clean the garden, fix the toilets, make sure the church is clean and ready. He would spend hours in prayer, reading the word of God, discipline on another level, sacrificial and just serving on another level. He didn't have to. He was retired. But because of his love for the people he served and the work of the Lord and the house of the Lord, he would do all that he could to make sure that the house of God was in order, that the garden was clean at church and the plumbing was working. I remember a story where they said one day that he walked, after he couldn't ride the bike anymore, he walked to the church from his house and he got to the church and there was a plumbing issue. And from there, he wanted to walk to the hardware. They never had the specific part that he needed. He walked all the way from Kavda to Kai. And they never had the part there. And from Kai, he walked all the way to Lakeside. And from Lakeside, he walked all the way back to the church. And from the church back to his home. That might have taken him about 2-3 hours, maybe even 4, of just walking to find one part to fix the plumbing in the church. I'm telling you, this is the type of leadership and sacrifice that we don't see today. One day, there came a woman to the church and she was drunk. I think her name was Sophie, an alcoholic, down in the gutters. Pastor Clarence would spend hours and upon hours visiting Sophie, visiting her home, encouraging her, holding her up, bringing her to church, fetching her, making sure that she gets there. I'm talking about months and years of this so that Sophie can become a better person. This is the type of sacrifice that we want to see in our leaders, that they will go beyond what is just required, beyond what is just needed, beyond the job description or beyond the activities of your normal day-to-day responsibilities, going beyond for the sake of somebody else. The greatest asset you will have as a leader is not your title, it's not your social media, none of that. It will be the people whose lives you changed through your leadership. Today, on this podcast, I want you to know that if we want to see a great church, a great business, we have to see great leaders that are paying the price, leaders that are willing to do the hard things, leaders that are willing to remain humble. And I know that if we can pay the price now, years from now, months from now, we begin to eat the fruit of the price that we are paying today. And so, to every leader watching and to every emerging leader, I want you to know that leadership has a price. There's a cost to pay for your leadership. There's going to be a cost. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough sometimes. But I can tell you today that the reward is great. For those that endure, the reward is going to be very great. All you have to do is keep on going, keep pushing, keep serving, keep loving, even though it's hard. Keep getting up, keep going forward, keep pushing boundaries, keep going. And I know that in years to come, you'll be better off as a person. But when you look at the lives that you've changed, you'll say, to God be the glory. And thank God for the opportunity you had to lead others, whether it's in business or in ministry. You have the ability to change the lives of people, but it's going to cost you something. And so today, I hope that you are encouraged and inspired by these few minutes of teaching. I want to encourage you just to go to our social media pages and follow us, like, even on this YouTube video today. If you could like and subscribe and maybe just drop a comment, let us know what stood out for you. It will really help us. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you in the next episode of the Apex Leaders podcast. I thank you for watching today. God bless you.